Hey, everybody, welcome to the Hot and Hauter podcast. I'm Artie.
And I'm Dan.
Every episode, I give Dan a recipe and we find out if it's
A success,
or a disaster.
nevertheless, it's bound to be an adventure. Let's get to cooking. All right. I think I'm ready. I think I got everything. I know
All
you
right.
got a hot date, so let's knock this out.
Okay, cool. So, Dan?
Well, we did empanadas. Well, you did empanadas.
I
I
mean,
can't I can't say that I was successful.
well, did
Yeah, I did.
empanadas.
Um I'm not I'm still very hesitant to deal with doughs. I think there's just such a variety of doughs, and this one had vinegar in it, and it was just there was a lot of weird things, and it just didn't work out well. And I think again I was under the uh time limit here. So I guess before I get into that, what's the history of empanadas? I mean, I brought this to you because when
Yeah.
I was on vacation, I went to my wife and we were taking a little couple days. We went up to Asheville, North Carolina, and we went to a Cuban restaurant, and they had these empanadas there that were just really, really, really good. I don't remember the exact name. I'll try to look them up as I say this. But while we were there, I thought, this would be a cool. We have never done anything. We've done Mexican, but we haven't done anything like Cuban, like authentic
Mm-hmm.
Cuban. And this restaurant was completely in the Cuban flavor. And ultimately, we got empanadas, and then we've got like I think they were like plantain chips or something. And at the end of the day, it was all really good, but it was definitely a flavor profile that I've never used. So yeah, the menu just says empanadas de pollo, which would be chicken, and then
Mm-hmm.
empanadas de res, which would be just beef. And we also got a tostones board,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is a different thing, and we might do later. But those are the two main dishes we got there, and I thought this would be a cool one to bring up. So that's how this one came about.
Yeah. So this one's actually pretty straightforward. Not like our others. So empanadas, the origins are in Spain and Portugal. Um, I think it's Galicia, Spain, and Portugal to be exact.
Okay.
So they first appeared in medieval Iberia, I think it is, during the time of the Moorish invasion.
The what
Uh,
invasion?
Moorish
Oh,
invasion.
Moorish. Okay.
Yeah, the Moors.
Those pesky Moors.
Jeez, there's just always more of them.
Ah,
Got him.
yeah.
So, so a cookbook is published in Corn. I'm gonna screw it up. Sorry. Uh, Ca- Catalan, Catalan. I don't know.
Don't know.
Yeah, I said it badly.
Are
There
there
you
are
go.
there 2 L's?
No, there's three A's.
Oh.
Catalan. So,
We got a whole 'nother problem. I'm sorry.
right. So it and that's in 1520, and it mentions empanadas filled with seafood. Um,
Ooh,
yeah. So empanadas, like they're usually it's seafood, beef, chicken, pork, or there's also ones that are just a combination of everything too.
sure.
Um, so that's the history of it, and then it then kind of migrated to to Latin America and the Philippines by Spanish colonists,
Yeah.
and they're just became popular, and they still are very popular.
Yeah, I can see this is a lot of room for creativity with regards to contents,
Oh yeah,
and it's I mean, at its core, once you get good at it, it's a pretty simple thing to make. It seems like it's pretty straightforward. It's
yeah.
not overly complicated.
I
Um
mean, unless I make the recipe.
or you're just me. That's what it is. But at the end of the day, with the same thing with the soup dumplings, I could see repeated execution of this. This would be kind of a simple thing to throw around.
Yeah.
And again, uniqueness with regards to region or culture. You
Mhm.
said that originally were seafood, and the two that I had at that restaurant were both chicken and beef. So,
Yeah.
and I can even see like a vegetarian version of this, and
Oh,
put some vegetables
100%.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And I kind of get like almost like an Asian vibe. This is like a this you know how like Asians have dumplings and they'll put anything in them. This is kind
Yeah.
of like the Mexican or the Spanish version of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so it
I mean, it essentially is a dumpling. A dumpling is
yes,
just something wrapped in dough, and I think the actual translation is, what is it? So it comes from empanar, which meaning to wrap or coat in bread.
there you go.
So that's yeah, that's what it
Okay.
is.
Well, I didn't expect this to be as complicated as it was for me. But
Mhm.
this was a little bit more. Did you finish with the history? I don't want to jump on your.
Yeah, that's it. We're done. We're done.
Okay, it's pretty straightforward. The the recipe as it looks is pretty. I mean, there's some things in there that make you like kind of raise your eyebrow if you're not used to this kind of cuisine. I'll go
Mhm.
through the ingredients right now. You've got 3 eggs. Two of them are going to be boiled, and then one of them is going to be part of the dough. The recipe you have is 4 onions diced, and
Yes.
I went to the grocery store and I'm looking at these onions. I'm like, that's a lot of onion. I bought
Yes.
4. What's that?
I said yes. Yes.
Okay. I bought 4, but I only ended up using 2, which turned out to be the best way to do that.
Yes.
Now if you use, like, smaller onions, more like a shallot or something like that, then I could see
Mhm.
using 4 of those.
Mhm.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
like, if you grab a good white or yellow onion that's healthy, you're gonna need 1.5 to 2 of those. You
Yeah.
don't go crazy on that, in my opinion, unless
Yeah.
you have a
100%.
ton of meat.
Yeah.
You have a garlic clove in there, some olive oil, that's just for kinda coating the pan. And yeah, put a little bit in some of the other stuff. And
Mhm.
then you got
Yeah.
some oregano,
Mhm.
2 pounds of ground beef.
Mhm.
Uh, when I saw that, it did look large because it is, but then at the
Mhm.
top of this recipe, it says it yields 6.
Yeah.
So again, I think proportionately we're a little off there, but I could see this being like a familial dinner situation where you
Yeah.
just crank out a bunch of empanadas, you set them on a plate, you maybe have some sauces and some other stuff to go with them, and then everybody just kind of
Yeah.
grabs and goes.
Yeah.
So the beef and the onions and all those things, those the ingredients that go into the contents of the actual empanada, kind of at your own discretion with whatever you got planned. And then
Yeah.
this is where we kind of go off the rails with regards to what I'm used to palate wise. You actually call for raisins.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever had raisins in a beef or meat concoction.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll see it in a lot of, I don't wanna say Spanish dishes, but, I guess it would be Spanish dishes. Yeah, there raisins are used, quite often, a lot of
Like
dishes.
Latino dishes.
Yeah, where you like, being us, we wouldn't expect to, "Oh, yeah, it's raisins would be in that, of course." But I think the purpose of it is that it adds a sweetness
Hmm.
to the savory dishes to balance them out. I think that's the whole purpose of it.
Okay, I
So
mean that makes sense.
instead of adding sugar or whatever, and you'd add raisins to give it a nice balance.
I don't know. Like I know raisins are shriveled grapes, right? Dried up
Mhm.
grapes. How
Yeah.
hard are raisins to come by? Like, are they a pretty easy? Like if you were in a poorer country, would raisins still be readily accessible?
I don't think so,
Okay, because I'm
but
trying to see if this maybe might be a dish that's more for the economically struggling, larger communities and families. If that might have been
mm,
something that kind of appealed, or if this is just a little spritz of fanciness on a regular dish.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it probably depends on the region
Sure.
and the time. Like, who knows? Maybe Spain had a very plentiful supply of raisins. I
Well, I
don't know. I
mean,
don't know. I mean, grapes. I mean,
yeah,
who knows?
wine vineyards and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So it might have been like a normal thing for them.
Okay. Well, I do see the allure of like maybe a little bit more of a sweetness or sugary stuff to it.
Yeah.
Moving on down the list of ingredients, you have the next thing, which I'm not a big fan of these, which are olives, but you
Hmm.
specifically asked for
Yes.
manzanilla
So
olives.
again, I think the purpose is it adds to the flavor profile. So those are the olives that you'll see that have the pimentos in them,
Mm, okay.
and they're usually brined. So like kind of like pickly, I
Yeah.
guess. But then,
Yeah.
but I think again that lends to the flavor profile of this thing. So it's
Sure.
like one of the balancing aspects of the beef and the sweetness. So they add a little vinegar pop essentially.
Okay.
So think of
Well,
like in other dishes, you'd use like citrus. So this is like that equivalent, cutting the fat.
that makes sense. That makes sense because it is a sharper taste.
Hmm.
You smell the vinegar. You smell like it's almost salty too as well.
Yeah.
Um, the manzanilla. First of all, I don't like olives, so I
Hmm.
don't know a lot about them. Those are supposed to be stuffed.
They can be, or they can come not stuffed, but
Okay.
you're mostly gonna see them with the pimentos in them.
Okay. Yes,
That
that's what I
that's
because it didn't say stuffed here, but that's all I could find.
yeah, that's all most people can find.
Okay. Cool.
That's what I found. That's all I used because
Alrighty.
that's it.
So is that cheese that's in it?
Pimento,
Yeah.
it's a vegetable of some kind.
Oh, okay. Because I know pimento cheese, but I guess that's just cheese with pimentos in it.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
I really don't know what a pimento is.
Well, it's
You
a
know,
little red weird thing in the middle of an olive.
it's a red thing that's always in the oven. I've just been like, all right, I accept it and move on with my life.
They've
Add
been
that, add
brainwashing us with pimentos for
right.
years.
That's how they're gonna take over the world with pimentos.
All right, then we move on to tomato sauce, which you say 1 can or 8 ounces, which is
Mhm.
basically just a cup of
Yeah,
tomato sauce.
yeah,
Um, 236 grams. Your
yeah,
numbers are just like really weird how accurate. But 236 grams of all-purpose flour, a tablespoon of salt, 60 grams of unsalted butter, which is just basically half a stick.
yeah.
Um, 1 egg, like I said earlier, some water, 6 tablespoons, and then 1 tablespoon of white vinegar.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask, and I did in Discord whenever we were figuring out the recipe. Does this have to be just distilled white vinegar, or can this be more like? Because I have other vinegars that we've used in other dishes hanging out in my kitchen.
I think it can be any vinegar,
Okay.
but from all my research, everything called for white vinegar. So,
Okay.
like, I had white wine vinegar, and that's what I used.
Okay.
But I think just vinegar in general you'd be fine.
Okay. Well, those are the ingredients. Again, with the olives and the raisins, kind of unique. But I personally didn't get to taste it because I didn't finish it. But we'll go on. Hopefully, you had a good
Okay.
time. So when you first showed me the recipe, it said a stand mixer, and then you changed it to a food processor.
Yes.
Uh, and then that kind of sparked a conversation between you and I. Never would have considered making a dough in a food
Yeah.
processor
Yeah.
because, as far as I'm concerned, that's used to eviscerate whatever you put in it,
Mhm. Mhm.
not necessarily like knead it together.
Yeah.
But it did work.
Mhm.
It surprised me. It was really
Yeah.
weird, and I think it worked faster than a stand mixer.
It does. It works very quickly because
Does
most of them
that
have the knead button. You just hit the knead button, and it just does its thing, and you have a ball dough.
really? Mine's just pulse or on and then off.
But same thing. So you just put it on until it made a ball of dough from everything,
Okay.
and you're good.
So is yours variable speed or?
So mine has I have high, low, knead, and then pulse on mine and off.
Wow, you're fancy. I only have kill everything or stop.
It gets the job done.
Okay. Finger devourer or cute puppy. That's all it is. It doesn't do any of the other things. So you put the flour, salt, butter, all that stuff. You make a dough in a separate bowl. You do the egg, the water, and the vinegar. And this
Yep.
is the first time we've done a dough with vinegar in it.
Hmm.
Um, is there anything special about that? Like what is particular about vinegar in a dough?
I believe the vinegar helps the dough to stay pliable when you refrigerate it. So if you notice when you refrigerate it and you pulled it out, it wasn't like hard.
No, I mean it had like a small like little crust on it, but it quickly went away. Like it
But
started
like,
to harden.
but in other doughs we've done, and when we refrigerate them, they become very firm to
Yes.
where you have to let room temperature for a minute. Whereas this wasn't like that.
No, it came out ready to play.
Yeah, and I think that's the vinegar doing that.
Interesting. Okay. Does that enhance or change the flavors? I'm sure it does. It did.
I
The
mean,
smells were different.
I'm sure it does, but not to like. I don't think we're gonna notice it
Okay.
unless we're like have the most particular palate in the world.
Okay. So moving on from the dough, you say cover the dough and refrigerate it for 1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we move into, you slice your hard boiled eggs. I have a little thing that just slices it kind of in one
Nice.
little
Yeah.
push, just simple. I've actually realized I've never really boiled an egg before in my entire life. I've
Oh,
never had a hard boil. I mean, I've eaten them. I've never
yeah.
made one myself. So
Well, I mean, I'm glad to introduce you to the world of hard-boiled eggs,
you're breaking down barriers, buddy.
right?
So I got in a little bit of trouble on this next step. It says in a saucepan on low heat. This is where you're making the filling
Yeah.
in a saucepan. So a saucepan to me is the high walled, smaller rimmed diameter, something that you would make like a single can of soup in, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, I know
okay.
what you're saying.
Okay. So then you've got like your open pans, like like what you would cook meat in, or what would you cook like a main dish in. And then you've got your tall what I use to like make like the marinara sauce for the chicken parm, or
Yeah. Yeah.
like spaghetti, like the bigger, taller pots. Um, I kind of got thrown off kilter here with saucepan because I immediately jumped to the smaller, tall rim, but smaller one. And then immediately was like, well, I'm putting 2 pounds of meat in this thing. It's not going to work. So I went to the bigger pot.
Mhm.
And I mean, that was fine. It just took a
Yeah.
little bit longer to warm up because it was a little bit bigger. But so just anyone making this in the future, be wary if you're making it with a lot of meat, you're going to want to use a sizable container because you're going to eventually put all this together.
Yeah.
So you
So
I'm sorry.
so a saucepan is everyone thinks of it's everyone does that. It's everyone thinks a smaller one,
Mhm.
but a saucepan is just the high-walled pot, really. And then it comes in all these different sizes. So,
That's fair.
but just like you, everyone else is gonna think small. So I'm gonna change that on the recipe
Okay.
because yeah, not everyone's gonna go, oh yeah, oh the big saucepan. They're gonna think, no, a little that doesn't make sense. Why would they want a saucepan for this?
Mhm. And
So
I think personally, um, in my head, I just read it as I go.
yeah.
I don't think about where I need to go in the future, and I need to get better about that. So when I looked ahead and I saw I'm going to put the meat in here, and I look over and I see this 2 pound mound of meat,
Right?
this ain't going to jive. So
Just make it fit. Just make it
yeah,
fit.
well then mixing it would have been just catastrophic. So yeah, use a bigger pot or pan if you need to. Again, just because you're going to be adding, and that may vary depending on
Yeah.
how much you put in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I've browned meat before. I've done that plenty of times. Made you know, is that caramelizing the onion? You said till they're golden. Is that fully caramelized?
No, it's not fully caramelized. It's just until they get like a golden color. Because
Okay.
caramelization is where they start to break down and the sugars
Okay.
combined, and then that's why it caramelizes because the sugar from the onion caramelizes. This is
Gotcha.
just kind of giving them color.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, then, yeah, they get golden, almost like brownish,
Yeah, it's
and
like
then which,
it's like the first step of caramelization.
yeah, I
So
also equate it to when you're doing just slices of onion where they start to get soft.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Cool. Cool. I'm learning. Then you put the garlic and oregano in, and of course, anytime you add garlic or something like that, it gets really good smells and clears the sinuses if you're right up on it.
Oh yeah,
And then you only have that for about a minute. Then you throw in the ground beef and you cook, browning it. Once it's browned or kind of grayish brown, you throw in the raisins, olives, and the hard-boiled egg, and then the tomato sauce.
yeah.
I wanted to ask about the egg. I slice them, but then they're not gonna be really evenly distributed. Was it okay to break up the eggs after I've sliced them and then put them in
Yeah,
there?
they were gonna break up no matter what.
Okay,
Yeah, I chop mine up because that's what they're gonna look like anyways. So
okay. That's what I figured because it just doesn't make sense to have, like, 10 or 12 slivers of egg, and then you got, like, 2 pounds of meat. It's just not nobody's gonna get egg.
yeah, yeah,
And then we move on to getting it ready for the oven, and this is where I had to pretty much bow out. You made your dough, you put it in the refrigerator for an hour. Oh, real
yeah.
quick, when you say cover it, does that mean it needs to be in an airtight container or just put a towel over it?
Just like a towel over it or wrap it in Saran wrap.
Okay. I put a towel over mine.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you preheat the oven, you get that ready. You got some baking sheets with parchment paper, not 390 on the oven, by the way. And
Mhm.
then you roll it into 8-inch thick. um, roll the dough into an 8-inch thick layer, and then using a 4-inch biscuit cutter, which I didn't have, I only had a 3. That was part of the issue I had because I tried to I put the 3 and then I tried to spread that out a little bit more,
Mhm.
and my
Yeah.
dough was too sticky and it was sticking to the table and it was it was
Yeah.
ripping apart.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to put this really hot filling in it and it's breaking through and
Yes.
burning my
Yeah.
hands. And
Yeah.
so, needless to say, I wasted a lot of dough trying to make one empanada. I was unsuccessful
Mhm.
just because, and then I got to the point where like I just need to have something for a picture. So I took a really thick empanada and I tried to do it, and again, like just like the heat and the juices kind of broke down, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
it was really really hard to handle, and I think that's most likely due to my dough. I need to be better about dough. This did not help me in the self esteem on making dough field, but
It's
it
it's
was
not
it was tough.
easy. It's not easy. So I when I make these recipes, I do research and I go through a bunch of other recipes and try and figure out what things are the same and I
Sure.
try and put it together. So I don't know what magic wizards these people are, but I'm gonna change the recipe to say cool the meat mix first, and also 4-inch empanadas. I got them made, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Like, they should have been double the size, especially with there's a lot of changes I'm making to this recipe because it doesn't I don't know, like I said, I don't know what wizards make these things, but
Yeah.
I don't get like, they should be 6 to 8-inch rounds to make these things.
I was gonna ask
They
if
need to
these
be
need to be
bigger.
bigger.
They need
Okay.
to be bigger because I
Well,
mean, I
because
was able to make them, but they didn't come out pretty. Mine
yeah.
aren't like I have, like, one that looks good. I was like, "Alright, I got one."
That's one more than I have, sir.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna adjust the recipe
Okay.
because yeah, it's I don't know how they're doing this, but
Well, I was struggling because you say take 2 tablespoons of meat and
yes.
put it on a 4-inch disc, fold
Yep.
it in half.
Yeah.
It ain't happening. It was well, at least it wasn't happening for me. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like, "Oh, you guys are a bunch of amateurs. I can
Right.
whatever." Well,
Oh,
congratulations to you, sir or madam, but not
uh,
me.
these dumbs can't even do it.
But I would say, number 1, your disc needs to be a little bit thicker than 1/8 inch. And
Yes.
then number 2, it definitely needs to be bigger, which causes you to have to make more dough depending on
Yes.
your filling content. So there's like a ratio here, filling to dough and then the thickness and size of the dough. So you'll have to kind of tweak the recipe and kind of figure that out. But I would recommend a thicker, not 1/8 inch. I'd almost go to maybe like 3/8 inch. I mean, something
I
that you can hold
I think a
and it
fourth
won't break apart.
I think a fourth would be good.
A quarter inch?
Yeah.
That's thick.
Well, it's double the eighth,
Mhm.
and it's not that much bigger, and also these things are supposed to be a pastry,
Yeah.
so it's not bad to have more meat.
No, and the ones that we ate at that restaurant were I mean, there was some serious crunch and there was some
Yeah,
serious, like,
yeah,
dough to the or, like, empanada, fried to them. I mean, they're kinda
yeah,
fried, but whatever.
yeah,
I mean, it was there was a lot. So I would
yeah.
say they were a little underprepared for the amount of filling that was there.
Oh, yeah,
But,
yeah.
yeah, the video you showed me, it doesn't look like a hard folding technique. It's just I didn't have a
No,
lot to work with, so it
yeah,
was not working out for me.
yeah. So I think on, like, an 8-inch round, 2 healthy tablespoons would be just the right amount and still
Okay,
have enough to fold. So I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna
okay,
switch the recipe to that because I know visually looking at what I did and how I made them, that would work.
okay. I wanna do this one again. I wanna do
I
this
do
more
too.
than other ones I've done it before because I feel I was knocked out of contention because I was trying to again, trying to follow the recipe to the letter,
Yeah.
and then I was also under the I couldn't make another batch of dough in time for this to record this.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
so that was kind of the other nail in that coffin. But yeah, there's then you once you I'm sorry, I gotta finish. Once you make the empanada with the folding, we put a YouTube link in there for anybody that wants to see like really, but you just take the corner and you just kind of repeatedly fold it, and it just
Yeah,
has like a little layered kind of fan pinwheel kind of thing going around. It looks kind of neat. You recognize it if you've seen it.
yeah,
And then you bake it for 20 minutes, and you don't flip them or anything. You just bake them for 20
yeah.
minutes and
That's
then
it.
let them cool for a little bit and then eat them.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, before I hand it over to you and you would describe your endeavors, what sort of I feel like an empanada by itself was just kind of boring. Like what
Yeah.
kind of sauces or sides? Because like when we had them in that restaurant, there was like a green sauce. I forget what it was called, but
Mhm.
it was it was not a it was thick and it
Yeah.
had like some texture to it. And it was really good. But what would you put with this?
I mean, probably like a salsa like that or like I bet these would go really good with like a dill cream sauce or something like that,
Hmm.
or just like a super basic like lemon aioli would be really good with these too.
Ooh.
Um, because it's fatty beef, so you want that counter, which is citrus or like you want that bite to go against
Hmm.
it. So things like that. Um, yeah, I think that would be the things like that would be good. And I think I'm gonna figure out a couple of sauces and put it like suggestions at the bottom and put it on the recipe
Hmm.
just so everyone has an option to make.
Okay. Well, I mean, how did yours come out? You said you had one good one.
Yeah, so too much meat, way too much meat. My dogs had a delicious dinner. I mixed it with their dog food. Like it was too much. It was obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't know who these people are who make these, but I can't. I can't do it. But so I got 7 of them made, folded them over. The first one was ugly, leaked out. Second one got a little better. Third one, a little better. Fourth one, acceptable. Fifth one, also acceptable. Then the sixth and seventh one were good ones.
Okay.
So it took a minute. But what I did is I laid it on the board, folded it over, and like kind of like pinched it off,
Yeah.
and then folded it. So I didn't hold them in my hand. I had them on my cutting board and did it like that.
Oh, okay. I guess
And
that would be
then
easier.
yeah, and then baked them, and they came out like decently golden brown. So they look pretty good.
Man, lucky.
Yeah, we're gonna try this again. We're definitely gonna try this again.
I mean,
There will be a revenge.
it's not that I think the longest, most time consuming thing is having to wait for your dough for an hour in the fridge,
Yeah,
or if you
really, it is.
add let your meat cool a little bit.
Yeah, which that's already there.
Okay.
Already done. Yeah, it was good. Everything came out good. So
Okay.
I'm sorry
Well,
yours didn't.
no, it's all right. It's all right. The At the end of the day, this is what this is about. Is a learning experience.
Yeah, yeah,
I need to just I think what I need to do is I just need to start baking more stuff. I need to get
it
more acquainted with doughs
it
and
does help a lot.
yeah,
Just like
because
anything else, the more you do it, you get
yeah,
familiar with it.
I have little to no references to go by. Like
Uh-huh.
I've ever done is messed it up. I think there's been one dough that I was like really ecstatic about
Mhm.
in the process of us doing this. But yeah, it's something it's kind of like that nemesis to me. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. It's like a
Yeah.
constantly moving target for me, and
Yeah.
I just got to get some experience and just crank it out.
Yeah. Of course.
So, but no, it's I mean these are good. I've had empanadas before.
Yeah.
I have a much better appreciation for how they're made.
Right? The work that goes into them.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's I mean kind of a short and sweet episode for us here. That's all I've got, brother.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Well,
No.
for me. For me, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I remember holding it and just it's scalding my hand, this hot meat and juice, and like I'm trying to make. I was like, and like in the video, I just throw it down and I'm like shaking. Like,
It hurts.
it
It
did.
hurts. Oh
I was like,
god.
I'm not gonna burn myself for you, Artie.
Wow, and I thought we were friends.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, you're worth some things, but you're not worth like.
Like a first degree, come on. I'm not asking for a second or
We're
third, but a
not there
first.
yet. I've never even breathed the
Wow,
same air as you. We haven't shared a room yet, man.
wow,
So
wow.
you
Well,
gotta actually like we gotta like shake hands before we start actually burning each other.
gotta shake a hand before we give skin.
There you go. There it is.
All
Why'd
right.
you gotta make it weird? Okay. So you want to tell everybody where they can find our stuff?
Okay. Sure. Awkward. You can find us all the social medias. We're hot and hotter in all the places. That's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, where you can see our video podcast, Instagram, and our website, hotandhotter.com, where our recipes and everything else is as well. You can get the audio version everywhere you get your podcasts. So we are everywhere. You can't escape us.
All right. Again, any and all information that you have to offer us with regards to recipes or suggestions, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, just send it to any of those social medias. Please be constructive. But if you
Right.
have any recommendations, we love to entertain it.
Yep, we
Um,
want them. We want
yeah,
them.
we do, and this is a lot of fun for us. And the more we can involve everybody, the better.
100%.
You
All
didn't
right.
yell my name at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, I decided to take a break from it today. Kind of.
When you just saw how defeated I was, you didn't want to
I did. I did.
kick.
I was like, I don't want to like, Dan.
I knew it had to happen sometime.
Got to mix it up a little bit. All right, y'all. Keep keep cooking, y'all.
Take
Bye.
care.